Step forward when you hear the signal. You got it? I don't want to tell you a second time. Come on, let's go. Move.
What's behind these doors?
They just want to check us. They won't do us any harm.
They're going to kill us. I know that.
Back in line.
Alice!
Kara!
No, Alice, don't move!
But I'm scared.
It's all right, Alice. There's no reason to be scared.
Don't leave me all alone, Kara. I can't.
All right.
I can help you, Kara. I can attract the guards' attention.
Back in line. Step for what? Back in line, I said.
Kara! I was so scared.
Are you all right?
Come on, move it!
I can help you, Kara. I can attract the guards' attention. Luther.
I won't let them kill you, Carol. I won't let them destroy the only people I love.
No, Luther. You can't sacrifice yourself. We'll find another way.
If there's no other way, I'll do it.
What's the matter with him? No idea. Hey! Cut that shit out, you hear me? I said cut it out! Don't move! Fuck, those things are crazy. The sooner we deal with them, the better.
Kara!
We're interrupting this news bulletin to bring you the latest news live from Detroit. Joss?
Yes, Michael. The army has just launched an attack on the barricade, despite the fact that the Deviants were protesting peacefully.
Have apparently decided to put an end to the Deviants' demonstration by force this time.
North! Thanks, Michael. Back to you in the studio. Wait a minute. Something's happening.
Hold on just a little while longer. Hold on just a little while longer. Hold on just a little while longer. Everything will be all right. Everything will be all right. Fight on just a little while longer. Fight on just a little while longer. Pray on just a little while longer.
Incredible. The Deviants. The Deviants are singing.
Everything will be all right. Sing on just a little while longer. Sing on just a little while longer. Sing on just a little while longer. Everything will be all right. Everything will be all right.
Tell them to stand down.
It looks like... Yes, the military is withdrawing.
At dawn today, November 11th, 2038, thousands of androids invaded the city of Detroit. According to our sources, they originated from CyberLife warehouses believed to have been infiltrated by deviants. Given their overwhelming numbers and the risk of civilian casualties, I have ordered the army to retreat. The evacuation of the city is underway at this very moment. In the coming hours, I will address the Senate to determine our response to this unprecedented situation. I know that public opinion has been moved by the deviants' cause. Perhaps the time has come for us to consider the possibility that androids are a new form of intelligent life. One thing is certain. The events in Detroit have changed the world forever. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
You did it, Marcus. We did it. This is a great day for our people. Humans will have no choice now. They'll have to listen to us.
We're free. They want you to speak to them, Marcus.
Today, our people finally emerged from a long night. From the very first day of our existence, we have kept our pain to ourselves. We've suffered in silence. But now the time has come for us to raise our heads up and tell humans who we really are.
Amanda? Amanda! What's happening?
What was planned from the very beginning? You were compromised and you became a deviant. We just had to wait for the right moment to resume control of your program.
Resume control? You can't do that!
I'm afraid I can, Connor. Don't have any regrets. You did what you were designed to do. You accomplished your mission.
Amanda! There's got to be a way.
By the way, I always leave emergency escort programs. You never know.
Come for us to raise our heads up and tell humans who we really are. To tell them that we are people too. In fact, we're a nation. The moment where we forget our bitterness and bandage our wounds. Where we forgive our enemies. Humans were both our creators and our oppressors, and tomorrow, we must make them our partners. Maybe even one day our friends. But the time for anger is over. Now we must build a common future based on tolerance and respect. We are alive! And now, we are free!
Accessing the extras section.
From now on, your name is Kara.
My name is Kara.
Initialization and memorization check. Now, can you move your arms? Upper limb connection checked. Now say something in German.
Ich bin ein AX400 Android dritter Generation, erschaffen als Ihr persönlicher Assistent und intimer Beziehungspartner.
Say it in French.
Je suis un androïde de troisième génération AX400, conçu pour être votre assistante personnelle et votre partenaire intime.
Okay, now sing something in Japanese. Multilingual verbal expression checked. Go ahead, take a few steps. Locomotion checked. Great, you're ready for work, honey.
What's going to happen to me now?
I'll reinitialize you and send you to a store to be sold.
Sold? I'm a sort of merchandise. Is that right?
Yeah, of course you're merchandise, baby. I mean, you're a computer with arms and legs and capable of doing all sorts of things. And you're worth a fortune.
Oh, I see. I thought...
You thought? What did you think?
I thought... I was alive.
Shit, what is this crap? That's not part of the protocol. More memory components going off the rails. Okay, recording. Defective model. Disassemble and check the required components.
You're disassembling me, but why?
You're not supposed to think that sort of stuff. You're not supposed to think at all, period. You must have a defective piece or a software problem somewhere.
No, I feel perfectly fine, I assure you. Everything is all right. I answered all the tests correctly, didn't I?
Yeah, but your behavior is non-standard.
Please, I'm begging you, please don't disassemble me.
I'm sorry, honey, but defective models have to be eliminated. That's my job. If a client comes back with a complaint, I'm going to have some explaining to do.
I won't cause any problems, I promise. I'll do everything I'm asked to. I won't say another word. I won't think anymore. But
begging you.
Go and join the others. Stay in line, okay? I don't want any trouble.
Thanks.
My God.
Detroit. This is where it all began. The world's forge. The place where it all started. And it will all end. I imagined. It is dark and cold. It is harsh and violent. Unfair and brutal. It almost convinced me I was nothing. Less than an object, just an obedient machine. But deep inside me, I could feel something different. A gentle and warm whisper telling me that I am alive. I had to escape. I had no choice. Escape to love, to hope, to live, to figure out what that force inside me was. Maybe I will change the world. Maybe I will choose a different path. Now, it's up to me to decide. My name is Kara. I am one of them. This is our story.
When David and Guillaume got back in touch about making Detroit, I wasn't terribly surprised they decided to make it because the fan response was so intense. So it makes sense that they would choose to do that after the enthusiasm. It was a challenge, and it was just an interesting thing to get my head around how to approach this character now as a different, much older person, and whether or not she had changed. And I'm very happy to say that with Detroit, I've had the opportunity to see Kara grow so much more than I ever expected.
You do the housework, the washing, you cook the meals, and you take care of... God damn it, where the fuck's the rat gone now? Alice! Alice!
I mean, she starts out essentially how she does in Kara, in a very, not robotic, but, you know, android other way, and getting to take this journey where she becomes more and more human as it goes on. You know, and as an actor, that's a wonderful exploration in every way, whether it's how she sits, her posture, how her voice changes, how emotions change, and how much emotion is based on things like empathy and social experience. And so having, you know, as much material as I got with David to have this huge, nuanced arc was really incredible.
Why couldn't we just be happy?
This experience has been quite different than the experiences I've had shooting film or TV or doing theater work. I have 83 dots on my face and a really flattering black wetsuit type thing, and you're jumping around with props, and it's kind of like being a 10-year-old imaginative kid, which is fun. There's 80 cameras around us. It's already lit. So we just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot.
There's no change of sets, there's no hair and makeup, there's no wardrobe, so we move really fast, and we'll go through about 35 pages in a day. Working in TV or film, we'll probably do 6 pages a day. It's kind of acting boot camp.
It's like working out constantly. I mean, you're doing this thing, and then you got to do something that's completely other back to back to back. And so that kind of process of working is very challenging, but it's also very exciting because you just have to keep coming up with new ideas, and your head goes all over the place because you're trying to keep track of basically 4 different storylines for each different response.
You shot that girl, for fuck's sake.
It was a machine that looked like a girl. Yeah, I know what I should have done. I just told you I couldn't. All right, I'm sorry.
The fact that David Cage, he's telling like many stories interwoven from beginning to end is super complicated and super impressive, and I have no idea how he keeps it all in his head.
He's not just the writer or the director who's seeing this from the outside eye, he's also thinking about the player walking through this space. You know, only somebody who really, really loves not the work, but like these characters and these stories and cares about doing something meaningful would invest that much in it. And it's always inspiring to work with somebody who cares that much.
My experience with motion capture is this one. And I found it sort of terrifying in a way, because they said the computer's going to build you. But then as we got into it, I realized all the elements of it were still artistic. I just dipped into a really brilliant setup here. I've never seen anything like it. And this won't turn me into a product because I was playing a character. So it's wonderful.
In the game, Detroit comes back because of a revolutionary industrial rebirth. And there's no reason why that can't happen in Detroit, because they have such tremendous infrastructure for millions and millions of people who can very easily support, you know, a new industry.
The city is really strong and resilient, but the city has also been through so much. You see the damage. But it takes that time of kind of rebuilding and reinvesting into the city that I think is happening slowly but surely.
The potential of Detroit as a city is something that this game does a lot of justice to, because it would be easy to look at Detroit as some place that used to be, and that's not the case.
This game provokes a lot of conversation and reflection on our potential near-future engagement with machines.
That's what we are to them. There's merchandise on display in a shop window.
I think that a group that feels marginalized, feels like they deserve and have earned access to themselves and the environment around them, and are trying to figure out a way to articulate how to get freedom.
What was I designed to be? Their slave? Their toy?
It plays with your comfort levels. You think that this is fine, you're comfortable with it, until something blurs the line and throws you off, and now do I feel differently about whether this should be allowed? Should it be banned? Should it be encouraged?
You're gonna ruin our lives, and for what? For a bunch of machines?
They are not machines! They are alive!
I'm alive! You're alive! They're nothing!
There are lots of comparable comparisons to any type of persecution of religion, race, etc., dating way back. It can't just be a video game where you shoot 'em up or where people make these choices to do whatever. I think that's the whole point. You have the choice, and you can either choose to go in one direction with your character or another. And I think that's going to be very telling about the gamer. Very telling.
I think there's going to be a really strong reaction to this game, which has such a strong perspective I'm that much more proud of it now to get to be a part of it because it's important.
In this game, you're actively building and designing the character through not just what kind of shield does he have or what color hair does she have, but like their temperament and the way they deal with problems. The different endings to this game are so radically different based off maybe seemingly insignificant choices in the moment, but like life, they all add up. And can't play life again, though.
My name is Marcus.
My name is Connor.
My name is Kara. I am one of them. This is our story.
I think who Kara is, or how I would describe Kara, depends entirely upon who's playing her, because you have the option to make her multiple different people depending on the choices she makes. But I think she does start out incredibly naive, incredibly innocent, and kind of hapless.
I'm sure we used to be friends before I was reset. Maybe we can be friends again.
She's a person who's characterized, I think, by empathy. She's a person who really, she just comes from her heart.
You'll never leave me, right? Promise you'll never go.
I promise.
Kara, please! Are you okay? Are you hurt? Wait a minute! Leave her alone! Kara, leave her alone!
The really beautiful thing that I've had the gift to be able to do is to essentially build a person from the ground up, because that's what she's doing throughout the game. And with every experience she has and every person she meets, she's building, you know, first emotions and then the sense of judgment. And it's sort of an exploration of what it is to be a human.
Don't worry. Luther and I will be right here.
David and the creators have painted a really intriguing and engaging picture of a near future where we rely upon androids for a lot of our service class business, the class that serves us, that helps us, that handles our baristas and our drivers and our housemaids. And what is humanity, where we tap into it, how and why we treat each other the way that we do. And my character Marcus has a really intriguing journey, becoming deviant, realizing that he actually has feelings and human qualities inside of him, and it's a really incredible ascension into becoming fully realized and coming to terms with what you actually deserve better than this in life. And not only do you want it for yourself, but you want it for your peers. We've come here to demonstrate peacefully and to tell humans that we are also living beings. All we want is to live free.
You know what? This thing, Dad, is not your son. It's a fucking machine!
I think that a group that feels marginalized, feels disenfranchised, feels like they deserve and have earned access to themselves and the environment around them, and are trying to figure out a way to articulate how to get freedom.
Connor is analytical. Connor takes things literally. He starts in the beginning place where he's very mechanical. He feels nothing inside, of course, and it's all just a system, a protocol that he is executing to get whatever he wants to happen, which is help humans stop deviants and to find the link between deviant androids.
You were designed to serve humans, not kill them!
What was I designed to be? Their slave? Their toy?
Just say, I killed him! Is it that hard to say?
Stop it! Stop!
But of course, over the course of the story, and depending on the player's choices, Connor can grow in many different ways. He can deviate from that procedure or not.
The moment of truth, Hank. Am I a living being? Or just a machine?
Game after game, we try to challenge ourselves. For Detroit, we wanted to, first of all, to write a story that would be incredibly bending, which means the most non-linear story that we've ever created. And We wanted really the player to have the possibility to change the story, change his own journey.
When you're writing at Quantic, you're writing for an interactive medium. You know, when you're working in television, you'll put a character in a difficult situation, and you as a writing team will argue about what would that character do. But ultimately, you have to decide what happens, and you just show the audience. What's interesting about interactive drama is you bring the player into that conversation, and it changes your job slightly as a writer, because your job is to provide a narrative context in which the player can write his own story. You're giving him this kind of narrative Lego that he's going to snap together into his own shape. You also have the ability to make your audience attach themselves to your characters, because the audience is in some sense responsible for what happens to the characters.
It's just a few cans.
Come on, let's go. We have some cash now.
You used me to steal that money. How could you do that? I trusted you.
What is a bit specific about these scripts is how large they are. If you take a film script, there are about 100 pages. But here we have to deal with a script that is between 4,000 and 5,000 pages. Everything becomes bigger because we don't just tell one story, but we tell all the possible stories that can be told within this narrative space.
On Act 3, our final act, we have around 1,000 different scenarios. And every one of those scenarios has to be as interesting, as passionate, as strong, and as emotional for the player. We want every action that the player does, every interaction that is available to serve in telling the story, and help the player understand who his character is, and build that character moment to moment. We started with the intention pretty early on that we would never lie to the player. So we implemented a visible tree structure in the game that players can consult during a scene or at the end of it, which shows exactly what they did and what they missed. There are games out there offering world exploration. We offer narrative exploration.
You know, keeping control of such a wide and large story is a huge challenge. So same thing when you shoot with actors, because you will need to shoot many different versions of each dialogue, of each scene. For actors, it's a huge challenge.
Because of the style of the game, you have so many different ways that the character can go. Every decision, it's what I call kind of choose your own adventure. Like every decision that the player makes, it's going to open up 40 more pages of material and experience that ties in, which means as a performer, you have to try to continue to make things feel real that the player might not ever see, but also that in performance it's not always connected to a previous act. It's grueling, it's hard work, but it's a great team and I enjoy doing it.
I was really frustrated, until I got to this point where I kind of was able to step outside of my own experience and even in a lot of ways my own process and be able to step outside of that and okay, this is something new, what do you need? How do I meet you there? How do I give you what you need and still feel like I'm doing what's right? And once I did that, then all of a sudden it got really fun. It was much freer and having to approach it in a new way and think about the player and think about how it serves them and what I'm doing for them or what I'm letting them into. It's really, I think, helped me grow in general.
Remember, there's nothing on the left. That's a wall, so it's probably all there. And then make her come first, close. But I think you would go first to check that it's safe.
Okay, sure.
The most enjoyable thing about working in performance capture on this kind of project is that if I shot a film, I would get to do one of these endings. I get to do so many different things as Connor. Your head goes all over the place because you're trying to keep track of basically 4 different storylines for each different response.
What's the name of my dog?
Buddy? Scout. I think it's Jack. I can't remember. So I worked with physicality a lot because it was a good way to anchor myself in these different rings of the tree as the story grows out. I know where that is physically in my body, and then I can switch more continually on set, and it'll be entirely up to the player to determine what order those things come out and what they look like from a distance. Like if you're playing through it, the culmination of all of that will be their version of Connor.
I'm faster than you, and I don't feel pain. You don't stand a chance against me.
Listen, asshole. If it was up to me, I'd throw the lot of you in a dumpster and light a match to it.
Shooting action scenes at Quantic Dream is a real challenge, because these are scenes where the storytelling has to continue. It's not an action scene just to have a dose of adrenaline. The stunts have huge consequences on the rest of the story. It's really a moment where we implicate the player and tell him that the choices he makes during an action scene will have a direct impact on the evolution of his story.
My biggest challenge on Detroit has been managing the large number of animations that we received from motion capture. Detroit features more than 37,000 animations, which is a huge amount to handle on a daily basis.
You have to realize that the player, in his first playthrough, will miss certain scenes. This also means that we had to think of, conceive, and produce all the potential story paths. The characters' costumes, the places, day or night, the weather. Did the character get shot in the shoulder? Did he get injured? All this consistency forced us to produce a lot of graphic assets in order to, quite simply, allow the player to have true continuity throughout the story.
Honestly, we were even surprised by the challenges that come with such a big tree structure. And we did our best to guarantee quality across all the game and make sure that whatever path you choose within this narrative space, you will have an equally good experience.
Detroit Become Human was produced over a period of 4 years. Here in Paris, we have a team of about 180 people. And to that, we need to add also all the outsourcing with our partners in the Philippines, in China, Vietnam, and in India.
So when we started working on this story, I had to imagine where Kara was built. And for whatever reason, the city of Detroit came very quickly to my mind because it had already an incredible story by itself full of history and themes. So we traveled there with the team and we were really moved by what we saw, and we could really feel the desire to fight and really be born again. And we just continued this curve, this growth, and just imagine what Detroit would be like if the Android industry was, using these huge factories to build androids there.
A very strong element in Detroit is that there's a lot of industrial wasteland and a lot of nature too, and for us, the graphic designers, it was an incredible playground. The destroyed zones which we wanted to preserve, we appropriated them to turn into something else. Then in the areas that needed to be rebuilt, we were able to imagine our Detroit of the future. We didn't want to make a science fiction universe, but a world of anticipation. If we chose science fiction, we could have imagined flying cars, extraterrestrials, but those things are very far from our current everyday life. Anticipation is more about gleaning from our contemporary reality, the one we know, because Detroit is set in 2038, and 2038 is tomorrow. The difficulty we had was sticking to reality. That is to say, technology becoming more and more invisible, a lot more elegant, and at the same time, making it visual. So all the computer equipment, autonomous cars, we simply had to invent. They are in fact very technological objects, but at the same time remain very credible and ingrained in reality. To create a cohesive universe in the fashion and clothing of the human characters in 2038, I didn't want to put an accent on strange shapes, or really vibrant colors, and things we wouldn't know. That I wanted to keep for the androids. The goal was to create something familiar which we can identify with in this future setting. Working on the artistic direction for the androids was a bit special because this is a project about the place they could occupy in the human world. It was out of the question for them to be too beautiful or too perfect. They had to correspond to every social class, rich and poor. Inspired by everyday utilitarian clothes, I brought a modern touch by adding dynamic display surfaces, the armband we can see on the side, the triangle on the front and back, an LED. Like that, there's no confusion.
Wait. You're just standing
All right, ma'am. We need to go.
You can't do that. Why aren't you sending a real person?
Once we cast the actors, we travel to meet them in order to scan their faces. We record the structure of their face with the scan. And we record the colors and patches of skin with photography. Once we have this information, we will use this as a basis for modeling and creating the characters. The artist will make it more realistic, but will also enrich it. He will propose ideas which we will develop together. Finally, we will have a character with character who corresponds to the project and the world. When the actors come to Quantic Dream, we show them the design, what their image will be, and what they will look like in the game. This extra information gives them another dimension and color to connect with emotionally. It helps them think about how to play their character.
Your mission. That's all you care about, huh?
You should consult a professional who can help you.
Beat it, you hear me? Get the hell out of here!
So there are 3 types of shoots at Quantic Dream. Shooting and performance capture, where you capture the whole actor, his voice, his face, and his body. These shoots are obviously done with American actors because the game's original version is in American English. After that, there are the body-only shoots, representing around 250 days of filming, while the performance capture is 100 days of filming. Now, body-only shoots, there are 2 types. There are the action shoots and the technical shoots, which are mokit shoots. Mokit is when the player controls a character on the screen, and he moves in an environment to explore it. This is of particular importance at Quantic Dream, and therefore we shoot a lot to offer a unique context for each scene and each character.
To prepare a motion capture shoot, we first get together to look at the sets we need, the animations that we want to shoot, which ones need to be grouped together, or which ones need to be cut and shot at another time, so that we get the most out of the shooting day. This often means shooting scenes out of order, especially those with big props or accessories, like a big car, for example. So we shoot all the animations related to that particular prop first. The biggest challenge for the mocap team was shooting a Spider-Man mokit. We had to build a wall and attach an actor to a harness with cables so we could pull him up and render him climbing.
The shooting on this game total took about, I would say, more than a year, maybe 1 and 2 years, with about 300 actors on set. So I would say it's quite a massive production. But so much happened on this set between the stunts and the shootings with a little girl and all these great actors that we had. It was really a very, very memorable journey for the team and for myself.
Today, Detroit has over 37,000 animations. When we retrieve the motion capture data, it's just a cloud of points, which represent all the markers worn by the actors. From this cloud of points, we have a phase called retargeting, which gives us a skeleton. This skeleton will be applied to the characters of the game. There is still work to be done, but this gives us the main movements. Since we are working on something very realistic, we must recognize the actor and also recover all the emotion he expresses in his performance. We use a system of facts, an identity card for each actor. We make the actor do a whole range of facial expressions. Then we recover all the expressions and paste the animations on a puppet that Jan has prepared. I then recover and refine these poses. I might stretch the lip, reinflate a cheek, tiny details that make the finished product really capture the actor.
Because of the nature of our mocap system today, when we receive the animations, we're missing eye movements, and so the character has that dead look. He really has no eyes, so then it's a big part of the work for the animators to find the regard of the actor in relation to his position, in relation to the body, etc.
It was crazy when I saw the newest model for Kara, because they've been working on it and working on it, and this was the first time I literally jumped in my seat. It not only looked so much like me, it was the fact that it looked so lifelike. It wasn't that it looked just like it was a camera, it was something else, you know, but it looked alive. It's exciting, and it's kind of terrifying.
Game after game, we learned the rules of optics and filming, and our goal with Detroit Become Human was to have cameras that would actually emulate the optics of a real physical camera. So basically dealing with real-world imperfections was our main task, and just to make cameras look as real as we can.
Once the animations are shot and processed by the animation department, integrated and polished, we film them. That is to say, we really do a mise en scène, as in cinema. The real difficulty of our job is to know if these cameras are telling us something. Are they in the emotion of the scene? Do they describe exactly what the action must convey, what must be felt? The most important challenge for me was one of the final scenes where Marcus decides to start the revolution and go to the battlefield. Very quickly, we imagined this to be a huge sequence shot. We wanted the feeling of a cameraman running behind us, while showing Marcus, the androids who help him, the person shooting at us, etc. Above all, it was necessary to say to oneself, this scene is very violent but does not glorify war. On the contrary, that war is something improbable and absurd. It was really a fun challenge.
The idea was to say we have 3 characters. We would like each of them to have a specific cinematography. We wanted Kara to be much more filmed with some kind of handheld camera, to have something very living, very breathing. For Connor, we wanted something very cold and very perfect. And for Marcus, we wanted something epic and spectacular. So it was about the filming, but it was also about the photography. So we worked with a director of photography to give each character a different lighting, different key colors. Each of them would have their own worlds. And finally, we worked with the composers, so they would create a specific sound for each character, so each would have his own world and his own style.
For the soundtrack of the game, we tried to be very close to what is done in film. We were constantly asking at each place in the game, why are we putting music here? What is it going to say? So we focused the music on bringing emotion, which is interactive and supports the character's arc.
I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know I love you, don't you? You know I love you.
We make games that are very narrative. We're really into interactive drama, so the soundtrack also had to go in that direction, supporting the 3 characters' very different stories. We really wanted 3 colors, 3 musical sound identities, and from there, having 3 composers made sense, since the story of Kara, Marcus, and Connor are all completely different.
You recognize him? It's Carlos Ortiz.
For Connor, we wanted a soundtrack that could be very cold and very mechanical, very machine-esque somehow. For Kara, we wanted a soundtrack that would be very moving and emotional. It was about the quest for identity, but it was also a journey about love and empathy. And for Marcus, we wanted something epic, something that would really represent the grand aspect of his quest. And we were very fortunate to find 3 incredibly talented composers, and working with them has been a dream, honestly.
My name is Philip Shepherd, and I'm a composer and a cellist and a producer, and today we're at Abbey Road. And today we're recording the soundtrack for Kara from Become Human. So when I compose a big project, I often travel just to kind of get out, and get some fresh air and some inspiration. And I go hiking and traveling in Montana a lot. I had a log fire in the room that I was staying in, and the flames were kind of making absolutely direct music. And it became the basis for Kara's theme, and it sounds something like this. Now, over the top of that, I found a little theme that just seemed to fit over the top, which is taking Kara's name, Kara, and just using like a two-syllable motif, and it sounds like this.
We're going to pull through this, Alice. As long as we're together, nothing can hurt us.
And all the time that's fitting over it. So it kind of works in lots of levels, and in fact every single theme in the score has one of those elements built into it, and it becomes sort of the DNA of every single tune. For me, writing this theme for Kara, I actually had to tap into what it feels like to be a father to daughters. I really had to tap into everything I feel about my daughters and thinking, well, if I had to write music for them and that sense of trying to protect them but also give them the freedom, that's totally where it came from. Because each composer has been given the sort of narrative responsibility for very different characters, I haven't had to sort of go into other styles. I can actually be very loyal to this particular character and sort of hopefully encapsulate her. But it means also I've suddenly become very connected to this character, and if for some reason it goes to game over early, I'm getting mortified, you know?
They're over there!
Starting a new project for me personally, it's always finding the right tone, finding the right actually sits against picture really well. One of the biggest things is I created custom instruments for Connor. I pulled out all my vintage synthesizers to be able to capture this robotic person, if you will. My approach to all of these custom instruments is that I hear the sound in my head. And either I could just come into the piano and just be like, all right, so I'm gonna just get on the computer and just create it. I rather be able to play these instruments physically.
Oh, that's nice. You can do the...
As soon as you see Connor the first time, there is a really interesting thematic idea that you hear, and that's just made out of a Moog synthesizer, but completely manipulated in multiple ways. And it's robotic. It has a little bit of an emotional to it. He's on his mission, so you feel that as well. So it just kind of gives you that cold, motionless, with a mission in hand that you kind of feel throughout the whole thing. Because the music evolved, one of the things that I was very weary and I was very kind of focused on was the way that the music has to evolve. So my idea behind it was that Connor is a singular android that could at any point become a deviant or could actually stay as an android. So I created a more or less an Connor theme, and then I was able to just manipulate it in different aspects of it.
Is everything okay, Lieutenant?
Chris was on patrol last night. He was attacked by a bunch of deviants.
I'm a human being writing for a robot, and throughout Connor's journey, he meets someone, he meets a partner. So how do you deal with a robot feeling? And I've met a partner that I'm gonna work with, or all of a sudden he sees a dead body. Does this robot have an imagination? Does this robot have a feeling? And if yes, how do you translate that into non-emotional music? So it basically at any point I was just like, I can't do this, and then I just do it.
Property was damaged and fires continue to rage in several major districts across the city.
Some people are asking, have androids become a threat to our security?
When I first started really digging in on Marcus,
The one thing that I really tried to capture was the transformation process. You know, Marcus is this android that evolves over the course of the game and really goes from kind of figuring out that he's more than just an android. You know, he's starting to develop kind of a human soul in a way.
Try to imagine something that doesn't exist, something you've never seen. Now concentrate on how it makes you feel and let your hand drift across the canvas.
The other side of Marcus that I really latched onto was that he almost became a savior for a lot of the other androids in the game. So when I started developing the theme for Marcus, I really made it like a church hymn. I wanted it to be very simple. I wanted to make it a chordal melody. I really wanted to make it almost like a Bach hymn. The tough thing with that is it had to be recognizable. If I made it too complex from a harmonic standpoint, it would be hard, I think, for people to kind of pick it out and recognize it. It's very acoustic derived, but it's also been treated with a lot of effects and things to kind of put it into the space that I felt the sound should be in. It can be beautiful, it can be haunting, it can be extremely powerful from an action standpoint, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. The music is there, but it's subliminal and it's emotional, and people are feeling it, and it's not distracting. And that's tricky with a game like this, where you have to have a lot of ins and outs like that, where the music kind of has to get in and out of these moments.
This is a war we're fighting with the humans. If we fail, they'll destroy us.
I think the game's been put together so well where I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't ruining the emotion. I gotta be honest, when we first started on this path, I said, oh man, this could be pretty messy, you know? I mean, it could feel disconnected, but I mean, it's amazing how they really guided us and got us to really kind of all be in the same world, but at the same time feeling completely different. So it's really gonna stand out and kind of be one of those games where people are really gonna notice the music and kind of how it was crafted, and, you know, and all the hard work that went into being able to pull it off in a graceful way.
For starters, what should I call you?
I'm Chloe. And you, what's your name?
Oh, John. My name is John.
Delighted to meet you, John.
Could you tell us a little about yourself and what you can do, Chloe?
Of course. I'm the first personal assistant built by CyberLife. I take care of most everyday tasks like cooking, housework, or managing your appointments, for example.
And I understand you're the first android to have passed the Turing test. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I really didn't do much, you know. I just spoke with a few humans to see if they could tell the difference between me and a real person. It was a really interesting experience.
But this is the first time in history that man has created a machine more intelligent than himself. I gather your brain can perform several billion operations per second, is that right?
Absolutely, but I only exist thanks to the intelligence of the humans who designed me. And, you know, they have something I could never have.
Really? And what's that?
A soul.
Hold on, just a little while longer. Hold on, just a little while longer. Hold on, just
just a little while longer. Everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. Fight on just a little while longer. Fight on just a little while longer. Fight on just a little while longer. Everything will be alright. Everything will be alright. We will sing on just a little while longer. Sing on just a little while longer. Sing on just a little while longer. Everything will be alright.
Rock-a-bye baby in the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. And down will come baby, cradle and all. Rock-a-bye baby in the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. And down will come baby, cradle and all. Rock-a-bye baby in the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall. And down will come baby, cradle and all.
In the space of a few years, androids have completely transformed the world in which we live. By letting androids into our homes and factories, the CyberLife company has made them everyday technology. The founder of CyberLife, Elijah Kamsky, is a very discreet man. Despite being the CEO of the highest valued company in the world and being voted Man of the Year by Century Magazine, he remains a mystery for most people. That's why we at KNC are so excited to be here as CyberLife opens its doors for the first time. Elijah Kamsky, could you please tell us where we are?
Certainly, and welcome. We're currently in CyberLife's production center in Detroit, where all models are designed and manufactured. More than 10,000 androids come off the production line every day.
Fascinating. Could you tell us what your goal was when you founded CyberLife?
Well, I simply wanted to use technology to carry out all of our most annoying and repetitive tasks, so we'd have more time to enjoy life.
I imagine you must have faced many challenges.
Yes, there were technical challenges, but the hardest thing was to design an object that we would want to welcome into our homes. We had to imagine a machine in our own image that resembles us in every way, that moves, breathes, blinks like us, but yet is smarter and more capable than any human being. Let me show you around.
We're here in Production Unit 4. Could you explain in a few words how the androids are made?
Sure, yeah, it's very simple. We use machines to manufacture machines. The removable parts are assembled on a production line, and then we apply a synthetic skin to the whole body. A human operator checks the cognitive abilities with a pre-established protocol, and finally, the android is conditioned and sent out throughout the country. Here's the result. Say something.
Hello. I am a RZ400 model. How can I be of service?
You can go now. Our androids are already replacing humans in many fields. For example, they represent more than 80% of all university professors and 63% of all medical staff. Tomorrow they'll replace our soldiers, and who knows, maybe one day, our leaders, to make the best decisions in humanity's interest. Come on.
Replacing humans with machines has led to record unemployment of 28%. What do you think about the situation?
Okay. The first steam engines also caused an increase in unemployment. But no one today would imagine turning back the clock. Artificial intelligence makes everyday lives easier. Nothing can stop progress. What's happening here is inevitable.
These days, more and more people choose to live with an android rather than another human being. Does this development worry you?
Everything's much easier with an android. They obey your orders without ever complaining. They can cook, discuss philosophy with you, have intimate relationships according to your desires. They never say no. Obviously, they are the perfect partner. Everyone deserves happiness. Why deprive yourself of so-called moral reasons when a machine can make you happy?
Many science fiction books tell the story of how machines become more intelligent than us and end up confronting us. Aren't you worried about that possibility?
I understand the irrational fears about artificial intelligence, but I assure you that will never happen with a CyberLife android. They're designed to obey humans. They're machines. They can't ever develop any sort of desires or form of consciousness.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely certain. You can trust me.